All right. Good morning, everybody. Johnathan here with the longer episode of tax season. Today I'll be sitting down to talk about the Minnesota's new paid family and medical leave program, also known as PFML. A lot of business owners and employees are wondering what that means for them, what it's going to cost, and when it starts. So I thought it'd be helpful today to sit down with an expert in the field, Kevin Krejsa, with TKA Health Insurance Agency. Thanks for stopping by, Kevin.
Thanks so much for having me, Johnathan. I'm excited to talk about paid family and medical leave, what it means for employers and employees across the state of Minnesota. Just a little background about TKA Health. We are a full-service employee benefits and health insurance brokerage. We help businesses with as little as one employee owner-operator all the way up to several hundred. We also help with ACA or MNsure placement as well as Medicare. But today, I'm very excited to talk about PFML. I think the word needs to get out, and it needs to get out quickly.
Absolutely. Well, let's just start at the top with what exactly is PFML and why is Minnesota implementing it?
That's a great question. Most people, when they ask me what paid family medical leave is, they understand one of the two aspects of it. Minnesota's paid family and medical leave starts January 1st, 2026. It is a combination of family leave and medical leave. We'll talk about the details in a bit. But at a very high level, it provides time off for employees in the state of Minnesota. It also offers wage replacement as well as job protection when they come back from that leave. The real purpose of it is to fill a void in employees' lives. Most people have to go on leave and they don't have income. They are afraid that if they go on leave, they won't have a job when they come back.
Sure.
In some circumstances, I understand that it's meant to help the working people when they have serious issues that arise for a long-term period of time. These folks don't necessarily have access to short or long-term disability plans. So this is a means for them to be provided an option to take leave and not fall behind on bills and not potentially lose their employment.
Sure. I think that takes us to the next part where we're looking at what types of situations then qualify for this paid family medical leave.
Yeah, it's fairly broad. We break it down into two categories: family leave and medical leave.
Sure.
Okay. We'll start with medical leave. It's fairly straightforward. If something happens to yourself, physically or mentally, you're able to take up to 12 weeks of leave,
okay,
paid. The second portion of the program is family leave. There are four categories of family leave. There is active duty. So if a member of the immediate family goes on active duty, you can take leave. There is safe leave. So if there's domestic abuse, stalking, sexual assault, things like that, then you are able to take leave.
Okay.
Next is baby bonding.
Sure.
So mom or dad is able to take leave up to 12 weeks to bond with their new child, either by birth, foster, or adoption. You have the ability to take that 12 weeks of leave up until 1 year from the time that the event takes place.
Okay.
The fourth and final, and probably the most controversial,
sure,
is caring leave. So you are able to take up to 12 weeks of paid leave in order to care for somebody who has a material impact on your life. This is not defined as somebody within your immediate family. The word family is not used.
Sure.
So the actual law is anyone who has material impact on your life.
Okay, perfect. And I think, that sounds great, but we have a lot of business owners who are, obviously self-employed individuals. So when we're talking about who is covered under this PFML, we want to make sure we're asking, it's not just employees, right? It's also including those self-employed individuals.
It can be. So self-employed individuals, if they take a W-2,
sure,
then they are and they make more than $3,800 in a rolling 4 quarters, they are in the program. Okay. They must pay into the program or have an equivalent plan to the program.
Sure.
If they don't take a W-2 and they're self-employed, they have the ability to opt into the program if they so choose.
Sure.
In addition to that, 1099 contractors have the ability to opt in as well.
Sure.
Okay. Who's covered is interesting within the state of Minnesota. It's defined as any W-2 employee who makes $3,800 or more in a rolling 4 quarters. The few exceptions are hospitality workers that are seasonal in nature only. There's a very, very small subset of people who belong to that category. Railroad employees and federal government workers.
Sure.
Other than that, everybody's included in the program.
Okay. And then I guess with our business owners with those questions, is this PFML program, in addition to those short-term disability plans, is this in place of? We do have some business owners who have those short-term disability plans, and now they're questioning, what should they do with the plan? Should they keep it? Should they, obviously opt into this? They have to, but can those plans work together?
It's a great question. We've run into lots of employers who have short-term disability, long-term disability in place, and our guidance is keep them. Generally, when it rains, it pours, right? Is what it seems like. So the short-term disability can be used in conjunction with paid family and medical leave. Okay. The extra case for short-term disability is on recurrence. So we have a 12-week period that you can use for medical leave. If something happens again after those 12 weeks, you're kind of SOL without a short-term disability policy. Right? What we're also seeing is the cost of the short-term disability policies dropping dramatically. We're recommending that you need to talk with whoever your broker is, whoever has that policy for you. Sure. They might not automatically drop the rates. You might be grandfathered into a more expensive rate, and for no reason you're paying more. We found that without actually going back to the carrier for new clients, they're shopping and came back and we're going, all of a sudden it's a lot cheaper. That's strange.
Right.
But the other thing about short-term disability is don't change your elimination periods. Okay. So a lot of times elimination periods are 7/7, 7/14, 14/14. Sure. And there are folks who are asking, do I need to make it 90 days? Okay. Do I need to make it longer? And the reason you don't want to make it longer is if there's ever a reoccurrence later in the year and you need to take and use that short-term disability policy, then you need to wait 90 days before you get paid. Sure, right? That's almost the whole policy for a short-term disability plan. You could have a 6-month plan, but it just doesn't make sense to make those changes, especially with the reduction in cost.
Awesome. Okay. And I think, we have, this has kind of been talked about, been rolling out. Minnesota hasn't been great with letting business owners know what they need to do and when they need to do it by. So one of the big questions, are what are the key deadlines or dates that everybody needs to keep in mind? I know we're coming up on maybe some early November dates, and that's putting some time constraint on finding these plans that are maybe in the private sector. So what are the deadlines and dates, I guess, that everybody needs to be aware of?
So I'm going to kind of work backwards.
Sure.
Okay. So January 1st, payroll deductions start. Okay. That means 30 days prior to that, you need to tell employees of their rights, responsibilities for this program, in addition to telling them that you are potentially deducting from their paycheck. Okay. From there, November 10th is the last day that you are able to apply for an equivalent plan through a private carrier, through the state of Minnesota. What that means is there are some carriers who have a deadline of October 30th at midnight in order to get information to them to quote and get a policy number back so you can apply by November 10th.
Sure.
There are other carriers who are telling us October 15th.
Okay.
So the deadlines are coming quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker as the carriers are realizing we have more and more and more and more people.
Right.
I think there was a carrier rep that I was talking to that said on Friday, last Friday, he had 120 applications come through. Just him. And they have multiple carrier reps within the state, right?
Sure.
So they're working overtime to get through and make sure everybody who wants an equivalent plan gets an equivalent plan.
And I know that timeline and those dates are going to scare a lot of folks that are listening. So let's say we don't meet that deadline to get an equivalent private plan, and now we're opted into the state plan. Maybe talk a little bit about that, how they're automatically opted in and what their options are after maybe the first quarter of the year.
Great question. So if you don't have an equivalent plan, you don't have the application in by November 10th, you opt into the state of Minnesota's plan. You qualify for either the 0.88% standard rate if you have 31 employees or more,
sure,
or you qualify for the small business rate of 0.66 if you have 30 employees or less. If we miss that November 10th deadline, you have the option of changing things over quarterly. Okay, so you can apply for an equivalent plan to start at the end of quarter one, beginning of quarter two.
Sure.
Caveat: if you start with a private plan on January 1st, or you move from the state plan to a private plan in any of the subsequent quarters, and you decide, I want to go back to the state plan, you're locked into the state plan for 3 years.
Sure.
So things to just be aware of.
Right.
When we talk rates and things like that, right now, carriers are buying the market. 9 out of 10 times we're seeing rates below the state.
Sure.
We just had an all-time low rate come through of 0.42%.
Wow.
And they were over 31 employees. So it's pretty interesting. Additionally, if we find the right fit, carriers are offering 2-year rate locks,
sure,
which is extra interesting because we know the state will come out and make rate adjustments in January based on their guidance.
Sure. That's good to know. I guess for me specifically, I wonder, what are the biggest challenges or some of the biggest challenges you're seeing businesses face as this rolls out? Now that could be related to employee retention or, whatever have you. But I guess the question is, what are some of the challenges you're seeing businesses face as this PFML is rolling out here in the state, and maybe what you've seen or heard from other states that have rolled out a similar plan?
Another really good question. So we categorize issues that we see business owners face 2 ways. One is a hard dollar cost and one is a soft dollar cost. Hard dollar costs are the tax. It's a tax on business owners on your gross payroll. Whether you like it or not, you've got to pay it to either an insurance carrier or the state of Minnesota. If you qualify for the standard rate and you're at 0.88%, think about it this way. It's $880 on $100,000 of payroll.
Sure.
Okay. If you have 31 or more employees and you're paying people $100,000 each, $880 a piece isn't the end of the world. Don't get me wrong. I don't like additional taxes for, pretty much anything,
right,
but I understand some of the programming in that way. So hard dollar costs, I get it. It's going to be an extra expense that people haven't budgeted for, especially if they don't know that this is coming.
Right.
Soft dollar costs are far more impactful than any dollar amount that we've seen. And I explain it this way. You have an employer who's got 5 employees.
Right.
Okay. Of those 5 employees, there's a mix of men and women. One of them has a baby in April.
Sure.
She's gone for 20 weeks. She has to have her job there when she comes back. There's another employee whose wife, who doesn't work in the business, had a baby. He's gone for 12 weeks. Could be the same amount of time.
Right.
So, and could overlap the other employee's leave. So now all of a sudden you're down to employees with little to no recourse to backfill those positions. But guess what? You can't let them go.
Right.
So staffing and keeping operations moving in small business is going to be a massive issue that I think all employers are going to feel.
Right.
We've seen in other states that January 1st, everybody's going to test the law.
Right.
Everybody's going to test it. They're going to go, can I take leave? How long can I take leave? When can I take leave? What can I take leave for?
Sure.
Second wave, June 1st. So June 1st is a particularly sensitive time period for other states that have had paid family and medical leave, because mom and dad want to be home and go to the cabin, go to the lake,
Right.
and they don't want to pay for childcare.
Right.
Kids are in school the rest of the year. I got to pay for summer camp. I'm going to find a way to take a leave on January 1st, not pay for summer camp, and I'm going to go sit by the lake or on the boat.
Sure.
So it's particularly challenging to see these dates that have increased occurrence of leave across the board. And so if you're a 150, 200 employee company, okay, you have somebody who can backfill the position for some amount of time.
Right.
If all of a sudden, even with 5 people, if you lose one, you're down 20% of your workforce.
Absolutely.
Right? It can absolutely cripple the business. So finding ways to be operationally efficient and prepare for potential leaves that employees will take, because they will take them, is going to be paramount for the success of these small businesses.
Absolutely. And I guess, Lisa, one final question I have for you, and that is, what advice do you have, or what other things should employees or employers know so they're prepared when this goes into effect?
Really, it's about management and communication. And what I mean by management is the employer's management and communication towards employees and how things are expected to happen. First and foremost, we want employers to be compliant.
Sure.
The state is not going to look favorably on any business who is not compliant with this law. They are hiring lawyers and judges and people to enforce this policy to make sure that we are following the letter of the law.
Sure.
A dollar amount, $880 on 100,000 isn't crippling when you have to go in front of a judge and a lawyer because you're not compliant and you're facing a labor lawsuit.
Right.
It's far worse. So first, keep in mind, be compliant. Whether you're with the state or you're with a private carrier, be compliant, protect yourself. Employers, don't be afraid to ask for help. Okay. It's a new law. It's new for everybody. Whether you call us at TK Health or your current broker and ask them about what is paid family medical leave, what are my rights, what are my responsibilities, reach out, find somebody to help. If you want to call the state, great, call the state.
Good luck with that, but yes.
Listen, I called and I was on hold for half an hour, but I got through. But don't be afraid to ask for help. It's new for all of us.
Right.
Okay? We're trying to navigate this with all of our partners, and everybody's in the same boat. Right? So there's no shame in saying, hey, I don't know what this is. Can you help me out? We do that totally free. You don't even have to enroll in a private plan if you don't want to. People come to me and we say, hey, you need to be with the state based on everything that's going on with your business. So it's really just, we're here to educate.
Absolutely.
And we help educate employers and employees. So we'll take the time and say, hey, we're here to help tell you what you can take leave for and what you can't take leave for. And make sure employees understand the difference between the two, so there's not nefarious leave taking, we'll call it.
Absolutely. Well, I can't, agree with you enough that, this is new. This is a huge change that's going to impact, both businesses and employees across the state of Minnesota. I hope this conversation helps answer some of the questions that our listeners will have. If anybody would like an introduction to Kevin to discuss how things will change or how things that are changing will impact their business, I'd be happy to make that connection. Of course, if you have questions about how things affect you from a tax or business planning perspective, feel free to reach out to me directly. We're here to help as well and educate. But I just want to thank the listeners for tuning in. This has been another episode of Tax Seasoned, helping taxpayers keep more of what they earn. And we'd like to thank Kevin for joining us today and sharing a little bit more about it. So thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Johnathan.